How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about and breaking down the top couple of stocks and ETFs that I'm watching and looking to trade right now heading into this week of March in 2020. And I also want to go over, in general, the stock market futures as of right now, the S&P, the Dow Jones, and the NASDAQ, because for me, it's essential to look at the futures in order to prepare for the upcoming week. And I also want to go over what the S&P did in these past 5 days of trading so we can get a better understanding of the overall trend here in the stock market, so we can see, where could things be going over these next couple of days. And in general, some thoughts going through my head to maybe give you guys a little bit of peace of mind during these crazy volatile times that we are experiencing here in the stock market. And honestly, not even in the stock market, in the whole world. The whole world right now, as you guys clearly and obviously know, it's going crazy, right? People are going crazy because of what. The media is going crazy. It's driving people crazy. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in today's video. And all I ask from you, as always, is to hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and also join our Discord group chat. It's free, and our Facebook group, that is also free. Link down below in the description box. And you can also get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400 with a deposit of $100 from Webull, and that is also linked down below in the description box. So let's just get right into it, guys, starting off here with the S&P 500. And if you guys weren't watching this market last week, you missed out on one of the craziest weeks in history. Thursday and Friday in particular, those 2 days were the craziest 2 days in history. We had, on the one hand, Thursday, we had the biggest drop in the Dow Jones history. And then on Friday, we had the biggest gain in the Dow Jones history, right? The S&P, on the other hand, I don't think it was a record for the S&P, but nonetheless, S&P went down 10% on Thursday, up 10% on Friday, fueled mostly by, I'd say, a short squeeze, right? We saw in the last 20 minutes, this thing ran, if you look on the 1 day, 1 minute on Friday, this thing ran, actually more like the last 25 minutes, this thing ran about 180 points, which equates to around 6.3%. That is absolutely insane, right? And if you guys saw my video on Friday, excuse me, we were talking about how, is this an opportunity to short the S&P 500? Because we've seen over these past couple of weeks, whenever this market, since we've been in this volatility stage, every time this market, it seems like, sees a bit of a rally, it opens up an opportunity to get in on the short end, whether it's in actually shorting either the S&P via SPY or, playing puts via SPY or, just playing TVIX, which is a volatility ETN, or SPXS. These have all been options that I've taken advantage of, and I'm sure many of you have as well during these times of the rally. And again, on Friday, we talked about how this could be opening up another opportunity to go short. And on the hourly chart, we can see, technically speaking, and I talked about this on Friday as well, we were trending under the 50 SMA for the S&P on this hourly chart, which has proven to be a resistance over these past couple of weeks, right? And now let's take a look at the futures, guys. And the futures, they got halted to the downside. Yes, they got halted again. The S&P E-mini futures here down 128 points, down 4.79%. And the way that this works, guys, is sorry, guys, again, the futures, they get halted when they go down 5%, and they don't in terms of the S&P, Dow, NASDAQ, right? And they don't get unhalted until the market opens, right? So this is going to remain at 128.50 in the red until the S&P 500 opens tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? So this could very well lead to a circuit breaker hit tomorrow in the S&P 500, which means if the S&P were to go down 7%, we might hit the circuit breaker and get halted 15 minutes during the session tomorrow. This happened, I believe, both of the other times that the futures got halted. I think they got halted twice before this, or maybe once. Either way, I'm talking in recent time here, but either way, that could very well happen. We could get halted tomorrow again, right? The NASDAQ down 4.5%, down 360 points here. Insane, right? And the Dow down 1041, down 4.56%. And this took all but 30 minutes, 40 minutes before the futures got halted. So that is pretty insane. And we got some news today, guys, in terms of interest rates, right? The federal funds rate has been cut. The Fed came in and cut interest rates down to a fat old whopping 0%. Now, the Fed funds rate is between 0 and 0.25. So kiss your high yield savings accounts goodbye. I for sure am kissing mine goodbye. Not that I'm closing it, but I'm kissing goodbye that juicy old 1.75. Remember when it was like 2.5%? Those were the days, right? Now it's going to be at around like 0.2%, 0.5, whatever it ends up being at. But yeah, Fed, they're slowly running out of ammo now. They're cutting these rates, which to me, honestly, that's kind of scary in terms of the Fed running out of ammo. What's the Fed going to do next? Go into zero interest rates? I heard Powell, you guys remember months ago, he said he does not want to go into zero interest rates, and I for sure don't, right? That doesn't work in my personal opinion. So, what do you guys think about that down below? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. But overall, that's kind of the big piece of news that came out today. And, I'd love to see how that's addressed in the next meeting, which I believe is in like a couple days or a week from now or something like that in terms of the next Fed meeting. So, let's just start breaking down some of these, stocks and some plans that I have heading into this week. And if you guys have any thoughts, any comments, if you want to add anything, let me know down below in the comment section. So in terms of individual stocks, guys, we've been talking about this on the channel, right? I'm not looking to really swing trade, add any fresh new swing trade positions at this point in time, because again, the market's very volatile. The VIX was literally at 70, guys, a couple days, on Friday, the VIX was at 77. So trying to catch a trend here, it's difficult. It's pretty impossible to try and catch a consistent trend for a couple days, in terms of these individual stocks. So swing trading, mostly out the window at this point, but I'm still watching stocks in general, of course. I have a watch list, and this is what I do every single day. I'm watching the stock market, and in terms of the big stocks I'm watching, guys, it's going to be Microsoft, of course, ticker symbol MSFT, which it's going to be down tomorrow. It was up 14% on Friday, which is just blasphemy. It was up $19 per share. Insane. But with the futures down, potential for us to hit a circuit breaker tomorrow, 7% down in the market, I'd give that 50-50 shot at this point. I could see Microsoft being down 5-10% tomorrow at least, right? But either way, it's worth watching because maybe we could play puts on it, maybe we could short it, and in other ways we could play it, we've seen this market get oversold, and this is another way you can play these individual stocks, right? The markets, back to the S&P, we get oversold. There's points where it gets extremely oversold, and we see these little comebacks. We could play these little comebacks in the individual stocks, right? In the large caps mostly, as they do comprise the markets pretty nicely, right? And Microsoft got oversold. Imagine if you were to buy some Microsoft. I know it's risky, but let's say you were to buy a little bit at 140, 145, and you made that quick move to 155. That's one way you can play these, and that's kind of what I'm looking for here over these next couple of days, right? And in general, I'm just watching the markets like the S&P mostly to give me that kind of direction and signal on what to do. Another big stock that I'm watching is Facebook, ticker symbol FB. This was up, excuse me, guys, still battling the end of that flu. Little side tangent here. My temp was like 97.5 today, which is fantastic, but my voice is still a bit dry. I'm coughing up phlegm. I don't know if you guys even care about that, but for some reason, since I'm talking on this mic, my voice is kind of dry. But either way, just letting you guys know I feel better. Thanks a lot for all the comments. You guys have been dropping a lot of comments. Thank you. Lots of love to all of you guys out there. Stay safe. And thanks again. But Facebook up 10.23%, $15.81 on Friday. And like Microsoft, like 80, 95% of the stocks tomorrow, this is going to be down big time. Maybe back down to 160, maybe down below into the 150s, right? And in terms of a long-term investment, I kind of like Facebook. Oh, there you go. You can see that little ThinkOrSwim message we just got up there? That is the circuit breaker for the futures we just got. Anyway, if we get down to the 150s, that could be an interesting position for the long term, right? An entry point, especially into the 120s, 130s. Remember, guys, I told you all, I made a lot of money on Facebook by buying it down here in the 130s and holding on through the 200s, 220s. I didn't really sell much. I trimmed some profits, but I made a pretty solid amount, through that time period. And now that we're getting back to that price, I do personally find some value there in Facebook. The next big tech name is going to be Google, right? GOOG, up 9% on Friday, but it's going to tank tomorrow, guys. And the lower and lower it gets, I've mentioned below $1,000, 800, 900. That's a screaming buy, in my opinion, in terms of Google if we're looking long term. And another stock that I just love, I don't know why I like this stock so much. Like, when it comes to my long-term portfolio, and sleeping well at night, J&J is a company that I like having my money in. I know you guys, most of you probably own it. A lot of people own it, and a lot of you can agree, right? They've paid through recessions when it comes to dividends. They've made it through recessions. They've increased their dividend through recessions. This company, it's a beast through recessions, which is arguably what we're heading into, or we may already be in one. Who knows, right? So J&J is for sure on my list of not maybe stocks to trade or something, whatever, but just in general, stocks to buy. And I will for sure be averaging down into Johnson & Johnson, especially if we get anywhere close to the 110, 100. If we got that low, I'd be buying a lot of Johnson & Johnson, just for the safety factor of it, at least in my opinion, right? And Tesla, this is an interesting one, right? I do own some Tesla. I've mentioned in my videos before, not recently, I feel like, but I do own some Tesla from back in, what's my average cost? I think it's in the 260, 270 range. I bought a lot, not a lot, but I was buying back when it was at a lower price, right? And now that we're getting down into the 550s again, and maybe if we got down to the 400s, maybe high 350s, 360s, 370s. You know, if this were to get worse in terms of this whole global disaster right now, you know, if it were to get worse, I could for sure see Tesla get down there, and I'd consider buying more Tesla. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd consider averaging up on my position because, again, I'm in down here around 250, 260. I remember I was buying shares in the 300s as well before this. Yeah, I'd be willing to average up on Tesla if it were to get down more, and I'm for sure watching it for that reason. Now, when it comes down to, you know, ETNs and ETFs, let's break down some of those, because those are more not reliable, but you can kind of spot trends. I feel like a bit more when it comes to those when the markets are very volatile. When we're looking at the S&P, it's kind of hard to spot trends in individual stocks, right? But when we're looking at, let's say, crude oil and maybe crude oil ETFs in times like this, it could be easier to spot those plays than in the individual stocks, right? So let's talk about some of those. I'm really interested actually in playing DRIP tomorrow. I think there's potential in this thing to rebound and rebound quite aggressively. It was down $250 per share on Friday, down 37%, which is insane. And if you guys don't know what this is a 3x leveraged ETF. It's an oil and gas ETF. And the way that it works is this goes up in price, DRIP does, whenever XOP is going down in price, right? And XOP, all that is, excuse me, guys, is an S&P oil and gas ETF, right? And you can see how it works. This was up 14.8%, and that roughly equates to what DRIP was down. Not really in terms of 14. Do the math. 14 times 3, it's going to be roughly 36. It's a little bit more than 36, I know, but it works in that sort of correlation. And either way, XOP, oil in general, I think there's some more downside, right? And that could be an opportunity for us to play this short, short this rally, kind of like what we're talking about in the overall markets in terms of the S&P. So if we get a further pop in XOP tomorrow, or if we get a downturn even pre-market heading into the open, this could be a perfect opportunity to get into DRIP, which, again, is what I'm looking to do tomorrow when it comes to these ETFs, right? And natural gas /NGJ20, this is looking like it's continuing its downtrend. If we're taking a look at it, it is down 6 cents right now, down 3.05%. And overall, on the 4-hour chart, this 6-month chart, with today's little gap down, we're back below the 180 SMA, and now we're fiddling with that 50 SMA and the overall 180 support. So for me to go short natural gas here, I'm going to need to see a 180 price break into the 170s, right? And at that point, I think this thing is going to hit the floor. Not maybe to 160, but I think there's a decent gap down margin there where we can then trade DGAS, which, if you guys don't know, DGAS goes up whenever natural gas is selling off. So DGAS has a pretty wide margin there, about 38% from where it is now up to those highs at around 380. So I'm for sure looking to grab some of that here. So those are two ETFs that I'm really interested in trading at this point, guys. Let me break down some more for you all. We have, of course, TVIX. I kind of hinted towards that a couple minutes ago, but TVIX, this is an ETN that trades based upon volatility, the VIX, which is also known as the fear index, right? And whenever the market is seeing a sell-off, it's falling drastically like it has been, that's when TVIX is starting to pump up, right? As we've seen here over the past couple of weeks. And with the massive rally in the markets Friday afternoon, TVIX saw a massive dump, but now with the futures dumping, most likely tomorrow we're going to see a massive gap up in TVIX. So this is going to be interesting because I'm not going to want to force the entry in the morning because, again, the markets are already going to be down so much. But if we see any rally in the morning tomorrow, any sort of rally, right? Let's say we hit a circuit breaker, 15-minute pause, then the markets pop up like they did the past 2 times we hit a circuit breaker. The markets literally pop back up. If we see that, the pop-up, that is where I'm going to want to buy TVIX, right? And timing here is very important, and paying attention to the pattern is very important in real time, right? If we see that pop in SPX, let me just try and find it for you guys. Let me show you on this 5-day, 5-minute. If we see anything like this, perfect. Look at this day. We hit the circuit breaker. We rallied. This could have been an entry TVIX. It dumped, right? Rallied. This could have been an entry point here. It dumped, right? So that's kind of what I'm waiting for in terms of TVIX, and kind of the same thing with SPXS, which goes up whenever the S&P is going down at a 3x rate, right? And this thing is going to be up massively tomorrow. It was down 27% on Friday as the S&P soared in the last 20 minutes. So those are 2-3 ETFs in terms of market ETFs that I'm watching and that I trade all the time. If you want one that trades based upon the NASDAQ, SQQQ could be one. This goes up whenever the NASDAQ is selling off. And I know I talk about these a lot, guys, on this channel, but the truth is I talk about what I personally trade and what I'm doing well with. If I find ETFs, strategies that I do well with, I don't revert, I don't divert from those just to talk about new stocks on the channel, right? I like to share with you all what I actually do that works, that makes me money, and I'm sure you guys have made money doing the same, right? So why fix something, why change something, right, when it doesn't need to be fixed at the end of the day? So, when it comes to trading, guys, that's kind of what I'm thinking about heading into this week. I'm still being very cautious, right? I'm still stacking up my cash. I'm not looking to throw my money into the long-term investments all in, guns blazing, right? I'm not looking to do that. Yes, I'm buying very slowly. I'm adding a little bit because I do believe in the markets very long term. I'm a bull on America, but I would think it's stupid, especially in times like this, to take all of your cash and just dump it in all at once. That is very stupid in my opinion, right? It would be wise to, again, go in little by little and stack up that cash. And in terms of, finances out of the stock market, in times like this, an emergency fund is even more important than the stock market, right? Have an emergency fund, guys. Not trying to sound like Dave Ramsey here, but have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses in times like these, because no one knows what's going to happen, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen. So overall, guys, that's it for this video, right? Just get ready. The markets are going to be volatile. We could be in a recession right now. We could be heading into a recession. So take the proper precautions. Get ready. Prepare, because if you're prepared, you have nothing to worry about, right? If you have strategies in place, if you're educated, if you know what to do in certain situations, you have nothing to worry about, right? So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button for me and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see further content like this. And again, don't forget to to claim your 2 free stocks. What am I saying, guys? To claim your 2 free stocks, again, they're valued up to $1,400 with a deposit of $100, and that is linked down below in the description box. So thanks again for watching, guys. As always, I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out.